Hey guys, my name is Cray, and I'm over here at MetaBlocks Sandbox, and today we're gonna build a fort out of these blocks, and then we're gonna jump off of it. You ready?
Welcome to Horizon Worlds. We are going to take a look at something very exciting today. We're going to be working on MetaBlocks Sandbox, which is kind of like a creative mode where you'll be able to place blocks, mine blocks, and we're going to teach you how to do that today. So what we're going to do first is open up our menu and go down to the Create tab, and then at Create we can either edit the world if you have a world you're already working on, or you can click New World, and I recommend for this specific task to start in a blank world where you can give it a brand new name. We already have one. It is called MetaBlocks, and I've got an invite to it. So we'll go see details and accept the invite I received. Here we go. Editing world. Welcome in, everyone! So I've got a wild Cray, a wild YG, and we've got Galactic up in the sky doing some scripting. And so the first thing we're going to do is head into build mode, but pulling down on our right thumbstick. To be fair, if you haven't gone into build mode before, probably not a good tutorial to get started on because we're going to be focusing on scripting, but it could be a fun one to try. Definitely a learning experience to be had here. So what we're going to be doing is creating objects that snap to this grid, and they're going to be placeable. And we're going to start with a really, really basic version. Galactic is working on some really intense math over here that we'll be using in a little bit. And this is optional math, so be excited for optional math. We worked hard to make this optional, so Galactic, keep up the good work. Now, in the meantime, we're going to start with the easy stuff. So opening up our build menu, pressing on this button over here, the recessed button, we're going to pull out a cube. This is the basic building block for all things. I've also turned snapping on so we can snap to the grid, which, as you'll see, allows us to snap right to this grid point here. Now we want it to be 1 meter by 1 meter, and so the easiest way to do this is actually, let's hit undo, and then go into the Attributes tab and scale this up to 111 under scale. Boop, boop, and boop. There we go. So now we got our cube. We can snap it to this block here. And now we want to start by creating a tester block, just a block to allow us to do some testing with and some experimentation. So we're going to go to the Behavior tab and make this block interactive and grabbable. So now when we go into play mode, we can grab this block. Ta-da! But when we let it go, it doesn't snap to the grid, which is the goal here. So we really want to get this to snap. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our build menu again, going to Gizmos, and pull out a script gizmo. Now, our script gizmo is the brains of this specific block. And so these blocks will be super duper powerful at the very end of our script today. But for now, they're just basic snap cubes. So we're going to call them snap cubes. We might change the name later, but for now, that's what they are. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Samp cubes. Snap, there we go. And then when the world is started, we don't need that at this point. We probably will need it in the future, but for now, what we want to do is go down here and recognize that when the object is let go by a player. So under grab events, we have object is released by player, drag that over to the left, and we want to snap to the grid. And so under Action tab, we're going to grab a move to. We're also going to grab a rotate to. And we want to just rotate this to 0, 0, 0. This is going to clear out any awkward rotation. And then we want to move it so that its current position snaps to the nearby block. Now to do that, we're going to want to find a new define a new variable. So under the Variables tab, we're going to create a new vector variable called my new position and press confirm. Now we're going to set my new position, and let's go ahead and ask Galactic. Would you mind muting Galactic? We're getting just a small bit of feedback. Appreciate that. Under Operators tab, so the first thing we did here is we went to the Values tab, grabbed the set to, dragged that over. Then we put my new position on the left. Then we go to the Operators tab, scrolling down to new vector from X, Y, Z. So there is that there. And so what we want to do is get the X, Y, and Z values isolated so that we can snap them to the closest coordinate that's at a 0.5 interval. And so the reason that is I believe, we'll double check right now. So this is how we test. We select our cube. There we go. Open up the Properties panel, go to the Attributes tab, and we'll see that the position is at 4.5, 0.5, 16.5. So to be at a center point, to be at the center, you have to actually be at the half point because this is on the whole number, right? So the cross section here is a whole number, but we need to be at the half point. So we'll look at that in a second. And then the next thing that we want to look at here is the attaching the script. So here at the bottom, we can attach the script snap cubes. And we should all make sure our scripts have different names. So if you guys wanted to write some scripts in the background there, you're welcome to. And so I'm going to call mine snap cubes lakes. So that way it's got my name on it. There we go. Now, you don't have to though, Cray. It's all up to you, girl. So now that we've got that script attached, we can then go ahead and get the current position. So when the object is released by the player, we're going to duplicate this. So you'll notice I duplicating, thumb sticking to the right to duplicate, and then scrolling up to on operators to object transform, there's position of object. So we're going to get the position of self. Selecting self, I can thumbstick to the right to duplicate that into here, making sure that the highlight is on this pill, not the whole thing, otherwise it'll replace it. So we want it to be highlighted right there under object, and then duplicate by thumbsticking to the right, just as we did before. So now we have set my new position to be the position of self. Now we want to affect the X, Y, and Z. We're going to start with the Z. And to do that, we are going to need to grab a couple pieces of math. I'm going to explain the math after we put it in, but first we're going to grab floor, put that in. Actually, we need the plus symbol first. We're going to grab the plus symbol. Then on the left of the plus symbol, we're going to put floor. And then on the right, we need to put a number input of plus 0.5. And then what we're flooring is the operators tab. And we're going to grab the Z of this my new position vector. And so what this is going to do is it's going to get the Z value of the position of self. It's going to get the floor of that, meaning it's going to round it down to the lowest whole value. It's then going to add 0.5 to it. Now, normally we add 0.5 before getting the floor, but because we're snapping to the half coordinates, I think this could work. I could be wrong, but we're going to try it out and see how it works. And I like to just guess and check sometimes. I think it's a little bit easier. So now we're going to go grab our X of vector, our Y of vector. And so it's X, Y, Z. So we do X, Y, and we already did Z. And we just select this green pill. I'm sticking the right to duplicate it into here, which is how we were able to duplicate this floor pill, or the plus pill, excuse me, into the 3 slots. Okay, so now we've got that set up. We need to take the my new position and thumbstick that to the right here to replace that previous position vector. And now our thing should work. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play world. We'll hit stop first, clear, and then play. And then coming down in here, we have our cube. Selecting the cube, if I let go right there, and it snaps perfectly. We can lift it up a cube and it snaps nice. Putting it down in the middle, you'll see that it has to snap to the full point. So you can't snap it halfway, you have to put it down. And yeah, that works no matter where. If you put it right here in the middle, it's going to figure out which one it's closest to. And nice. And if we rotate it, the rotation doesn't affect it. So all this is really good. There you have it. That is the basics of snap cubes. So heading back into build mode, 4 lines of code. We'll read through that real quick. If you have questions, feel free to use our Discord. That's vidyuu.com. There's a link to our Discord there. We'll probably have one in the description as well. And you can message us there in creator support and scripting general. But the way this script works is when the object is released, as you saw, we set the my new position to position of self. So that's from our operators tab. We then set my new vector to be a new vector from X, Y, Z. So that's under vector math here at the top. We then calculate for each of the coordinates X, Y, and Z. We take the plus 0.5 first. We put plus in first. That's important. We put 0.5 on the right. Then on the left of that, we put floor. And then inside of floor, we get the X of our position that we calculated right here in this previous step. And then we do that for the Y and the Z, and that gives us the position on the grid. And you could refine this to do even smaller sets of positions, but I think this is a pretty good starting point here. Then we move self to that position and we rotate self to 0, 0, 0 because this block is uniform on all sides. Now, if this had a different texture on it, that is where the next piece of math comes in. So I'm going to go check on Galactic, I think. Hello, Galactic. How's it going? Hi.
Going good. I think it's good to go.
Good to go. All right. So let's take a read through this and then we'll write it out ourselves. So we've got when object is released by player, same thing we were working on before. We set my forward to forward direction of self, and we get my up to be the upward direction of self. So these are just 2 vector variables that we've created over here. Then we clear the list of forward up coordinates. So we clear this whole list. We then added X, Y, and Z of our forward, and X, Y, and Z in that order. Sorry, I almost messed that up. And of up into the forward. So we go 6 values are added to this list of numbers. And then we set I to 0, which stands for iterator, because we're about to iterate through this list in this while loop. And so while I is less than the length of the forward up coordinates, you'll note that I starts at 0, which is referencing the first object in the list, and it will end at number 5, which is the 6th item in the list. So when I returns as 6, 6 is not less than the length of 6, and it stops running. So we set I number to be get I, so whatever item that is. So remember, 0 is the first item in the list. So the first one's going to come through and get 0 from the forward up coordinates. We then find out if that value is negative or not. And so just as a quick demonstration, if we come on over here, when this is, select this one, when this is rotated like this, the value is either going to be 0, 1, or -1. But if we rotate it at a 45-degree angle like this, the value is actually 7.707. And if you go 45 like this, you get -707. So the point is that values range from -1 to +1, and we need to figure out how to clamp it to 0, 1, or -1. So we need to clamp it. And so in here, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, if we set I negative, because first we need to find out if it's a negative value, and we set the Boolean I negative to be I number less than 0. And so if the I number is less than 0, we know that is negative. And so what this returns is a Boolean value of true or false. Whether it is true, it is less than 0, or false, it is not. And so I negative will be set to true if it is negative. Then we say if the absolute value of I number, and so what absolute value does is it gives us a positive number. So if the value was negative, it's going to now return a positive value. So if we had like say 0.787 and that was negative, it'll now be a positive, and this will work. So then we're saying get the absolute value of I number. If that is between 0.707 and 0, meaning it's closer to 0, we then set I number to 0. Now, if it's not closer to 0, we set I number to 1, so we use else. Then, if I negative is true and it's not equal to 0, because remember, if it's 0, 0 can't be negative, there's no such thing as -0, we then say, okay, if it is negative and it's currently not 0, then set I number to -1. Okay, so now we've got our 3 values that we're trying to determine, 0, 1, and -1. Then we set I number at I, the index is 0, so we're replacing the previous value that we had saved up here when we had set all these. We're now replacing that value with our current number that we calculated, which is either 0, 1, or -1, and we update that in the forward up coordinates list. We then set I to I plus 1 to allow us to iterate through the list. So it's going to go up by 1 and go to the next one and then to the next one. And so if we didn't use a while loop, we'd have to write all of this code 6 times. But because we have a while loop, we can do this very easily 6 times without having to write the code 6 times. So once the while loop has finished running, we then send apply rotation to self. And what apply rotation is going to do is it's going to set my forward to be a new vector, which is going to get the values from the forward up coordinates list. So we remember that item 0 is the X, item 1 is the Y, and item 2 is the Z for the forward. And that means 3, 4, and 5, those are the upward. And so we set forward and upward vectors to be new vectors from those values in the number list. And then once we've got that, we set my new rotation to be the look towards of the forward and the upward. And you'll notice if we delete these, you'll see that the look towards is looking for a forward and upward value. And we save this as a rotation value so we can use it in multiple locations. So we can spawn an asset. And so the first thing we do is we've set my new rotation to be this. We rotate self to my new rotation. And that's going to allow us to at least test this to make sure it works. So I think we can just go to our cube over here and attach Galactic script to test it out. You'll notice we're not doing any position changes. We're just doing the rotation. So let's drop down, grab some cube, and with that script attached, we can stop, clear, and play, and let's give it a try. Good luck, Galactic. Hope your script works. So I've got it. I've rotated it here. And there it goes. It snaps. Very nice. And we rotate it and it snaps. So the script is definitely working. Now we need to find out if it's working correctly, which is a little bit trickier. So what we're going to do, select this and delete. And we're going to go and create a brand new shape, which is going to be unique in all directions. And so we still need it to be 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. So let's actually bring back our 1 meter cube. Sorry there, guys. We just want to bring this guy back. And we're going to use that for measurement. So I'm going to grab from this snap point here, snapping to here, and then we're going to snap that to the midpoint, that to the midpoint, and then rotate this like that so we can snap that. So now what we can do is create a cube that is made out of 8 pieces that we can color individually so that way we can see if the rotation is working correctly and not just doing what our first one did, which was a little bit of trickery. Okay, so now we're going to select all of these shapes, group, open up the properties panel. We're then going to make it interactive and grabbable. We're going to attach the script SumCube, so that's Galactic Script. And then we're going to paint them so we can see, starting with red. Then we're going to go to orange. Then we're going to go to yellow, green, and blue, purple, and purple. That's good enough for me. So that should allow us to do our test. And just so I can demonstrate this a little bit better, I'm going to actually duplicate this cube right to here, and we're going to attach the first script that we did so you can see the difference. So here's Snap Cube's lakes. And so then we can delete this cube now that we're done with it. We're going to go ahead and stop and play the world one more time. Stop, clear, and play. Zooming in. We can then grab this. This is the good one. So if I hold it like this above my head, it should stay like that. Perfect. Oh, that was beautiful. And if I rotate it, see it just kind of snaps in. Galactic, you did it! Throw some confetti for Galactic! Woo! And this is the one that won't do it, right? So if I try to match this rotation with this guy, right? So I put it like that, it's now matched, and I let go. It just switches back to 0, 0, 0. It's not trying to rotate to match the rotation. Now, if you're working with objects that have the same color, like we presented with the white object, totally acceptable. But if you have anything that's dynamically needing to be rotated, this one that Galactic wrote over there is fabulous. So I do want to give also a shout out to Wafflecopters who helped us answer this age-old question. You might remember a video from sometime last year where we were trying to do this, and I spent over an hour trying to figure it out, and it was a live stream. It was embarrassing, but we did find a solution, but this one I think is a little bit more elegant. So there we have it. So great job, Galactic. Now let's go ahead and write it out into our script that we're working on together, guys. And I gotta remember this script. Galactic, do you think you can read it off to me line by line, and we'll parse it together?
Yeah, sounds good.
Sweet. All right, so let's start with the variables. Can you read off to me all of the variables that you have?
Yes. All right, so we have my new rotation.
Let's start with the forward and upward. I already started on my forward.
Right,
so I got the my forward vector. And then I'm going to grab the my up vector. Cool. And so these will represent the values of forward and up. And confirm. Okay. And then what do we have next?
Let's see. We have the forward up chords. Which is a number list.
Oh, forward up chords. Okay. So the reason we call it forward up chords is because they are coordinates of the forward and up as the X, Y, and Z values. It is a number list. And then we click confirm. There we go. We don't add any values to it. So, if you hit this down button, you can add items to it manually. We don't want to do that as we're going to be creating it with script. And what is the next one?
You got your iterator value.
Oh, so we just do I. So we get number called I. And next after that?
I negative.
And that is a Boolean. And so this is going to allow us to say, is it negative or not? So it returns a value of true or false. You'll see that it starts false. It can be true. It doesn't really matter. Because we're going to be setting it every single time. And what is our next one?
You got inum value.
Inum, which is a number value. So inum. And the reason we call this inum is because it is a number value that we're going to use while we're iterating. So it's just a value to know that it's a part of the iteration section. And what's our next one?
The last one is my new rotation.
My new rotation. So this is a rotation value, and it is called my new rotation. Perfect. Sweet. So we now have all of our variables. I'm going to start with the bottom part of the script. I think I'm going to work my way backwards. I think this is kind of weird, but in Horizon, you kind of start like thinking in reverse order. It's a weird thing that you start to do in Horizon with code blocks. And so the last step is to apply the rotation, correct? What was the name of that event?
Apply rotation.
Okay, cool. So we're going to create an event called apply rotation. And in this event, we need to set both the upward and forward vectors that we created first. So we're going to grab the my forward and the my up, and those are set to be operators tab. Scroll down to vector math, grab new vector from XYZ. We're going to drop that into the top one, and then we'll duplicate this down below when we're done. We're going to start with the Z coordinate. The reason I start with a Z is because it's easier to duplicate from Z to Y to X than it is to go to X to Y to Z for scrolling reasons. So that's why I start with Z. And we'll remember that this was done by getting a value from a list. So we go down to the list section, even below where we were before, and then we're going to grab get item from list, drop that into Z. And the item number is a fixed number representing number 2, which is the third item in the list. And this is from that number list that we created, the forward up coordinates list. And then we can duplicate that by thumbsticking to the right into the Y one, which will be number 1. And then we can duplicate that into the X, number 0. And then we can duplicate that whole new vector from XYZ into the bottom one, which is going to be numbers 3, 4, and 5. And so that's going to get us the values that we're calculating in this script above, which we'll do in just a moment. Okay, so now we've got our forward and our upward direction values. So what we need to do is create a new rotation from it. To do that, we're going to grab the set2. We're going to go back to our variables tab, grab my new rotation, dropping that to the left. And then the new rotation is going to be the operators tab. Scroll up to back to the vector math section where you'll find look at. And look at returns a rotation value when you provided a forward and an upward value. You'll note we have our forward, so we'll thumbstick that to the right here, and you have your upward, which we'll thumbstick to the right there to duplicate it into both of those slots. And now that we've set my new rotation, we can go back to our motion tab and grab our rotate to, and we're going to rotate to my new rotation. So rather than 0, 0, 0, we can now delete the 0, 0, 0, and I'm actually going to drag the move to down here at the bottom. So with this, I'm actually going to put it at the very, very bottom. So that these happen at the exact same frame. And so there isn't any potential chance of these looking weird. It'll always snap together. It won't do like click, 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 click. We want it to always happen at the exact same time. So we've moved our move down into the apply rotation event. Okie doke. So that is apply rotation. So now when the object is released, we have to do this setting of my forward and my up again. So we're going to go back to the values tab, grabbing both set2 here and here. We're going to duplicate up my forward. We're going to duplicate up my up. And those are gone from the operators tab under object transform, where you'll see there is one called forward direction of object, and there is upward direction of object. Now this is for self. You can find self on the values tab and drag that over from value input, or you can duplicate it down from one that you might already have. Okay, so we've now saved the current forward, the current upward direction, and now we need to add those values to the list. But before we add them to the list, we need to clear the list. So we're going to go ahead and grab clear list, dropping that right after that. And the list that we're clearing is this forward up coordinates list. So thumbstick to the right to duplicate it into here. And then we want to add values to the list. So we're going to grab add to list, dropping that here. And we're adding to this list, so we're going to duplicate the list down into this one as well. And the value we're adding is the x of. And so we actually have an x of right here, but I think it's better that we go down to our, or up to in this case, to our x of under vector math. We'll drag that over into here. And then we're going to duplicate this 3 times so that we can do x, y, and z. And then we're going to grab our forward and duplicate that vector pill slot. We're then going to duplicate this 3 more times down below, and we're going to change this to also be x of, y of, and z of. So now we got x, y, z, but we need the bottom 3 to be for the up. So we'll duplicate up to replace forward. Notice that when I hover over a pill, it allows me to replace the pill. So if I hover over this one, I can replace, like say that one, hit undo. There we go. Okay, so now we've got our 6 number values added to the list. At this point, we need to set our iterator. And Galactic, you're going to check me on my stuff here if I miss something, right? Cool, you're the best. So we're going to go ahead and set I to be 0 right there. And then we want to go and grab a while loop. We're going to grab a, I know I'm doing this from memory and this is the hard part. So this is where I'm going to get called out any moment. I can feel it. So we're going to start by grabbing the less than symbol and dragging that into our while condition. And what we're checking to see is if I is less than the length of the list. So we'll scroll down to the list section where you can find length of list, putting that into the B slot. The list is, of course, forward up coordinates, so I'm sticking that into there. And now the first thing I do when I'm creating a while loop is actually the last step, which is to set I. So we're going to duplicate this set I to 0 to be +1. So scrolling back to the top of operators, you'll find the plus symbol, replace 0, put I in the left side. And so we're adding 1 to I. And the reason I start with this is because this is a completed while loop. And so it says, while I is less than length of forward up coordinates, set I to I plus 1. This will work. If you don't have this in here at the beginning, it won't work. It'll break just because there's no way for it to stop. So this causes the while loop to end, which is why I always start with this part, even though I keep it at the bottom of my script. Okay, so now that we've got that, the next thing we need to do is set our inum value. So we're going to go grab our inum, putting that into the left side, and inum is get item I from the list. And we actually have item I from, or get item 0 right here, which will duplicate. You can also get that from the operators tab like we did before. Then we're going to replace 0 with I. So it's getting item first number is 0, then it comes through and it gets item 1, and so on. So now that we've gotten item I from the forward up coordinates and set it to be I number, we can now find out, is it negative? So we're going to grab our set to, and we're going to set the I negative Boolean value. And when we go to our operators tab at the top, there's this section called logic. Logic operators all return Boolean values. So these are usually used in if statements, but you can also use them in set commands when you're setting a Boolean value. And you'll see why this is important when we get to the end of the script. So the first thing we're going to do is find out, is it negative? And so we grab the less than symbol and we say, if I number is less than 0, we know it's negative. Anything less than 0 is negative. So if I num is less than 0, this is going to return true, and that sets I negative to true. If it's greater than 0, this returns false, which sets I negative to false. So that's how we make sure it's always set to either true or false for every single value. Now that we've got this set up, the next part is to create an if and else. So we're going to drag an if in. We're also going to drag in else. And what we're checking to find out is if I number, the absolute value of it, is less than 0.707. So let's first start by getting the absolute value. That's under here under basic math. It's ABS, which is absolute value. Put that into the A slot. And so our absolute value of I number makes it a positive value. And then so if it was like 0.9, for instance, or negative 0.9, it's going to return as a positive 0.9. And then we're checking to see if it's less than 0.707. And you'll start to see this number pop up over and over again. It represents 45 degrees. So 707 is a 45-degree rotation. So anyway, you'll find it like with dot products and other places it'll pop up here and there. So now that we've got to check if it is less than 707, this is basically checking to see if the rotation is closer to 0. And if it is, we want to set inum to 0. So I'm going to duplicate this set inum from above, grabbing a 0 here to replace this code on the right. So now it sets inum to 0. Remember, you can always grab a set to from the top of your values tab. So now that we've set inum to 0, we know that if it is not set, if it is not less than 707, it is greater, which means it's closer to 1. So we duplicate this and put in number 1 right here. So now it says, okay, if it's less than 707, we set inum to 0, else we set it to 1. But what if it's negative? And so that's where we go to our next if statement, and we're going to put in an and here, and I'll show you why that's important in a second. So we're going to say, if it is negative, then and it is not equal to 0. So we're going to go grab our not equal symbol because you can't have a negative 0. We say if inum does not equal 0 and it is negative, that means the value is negative 1. So we set inum to negative 1. Now this has given us the 3 values that it can be. It can either be 0, 1, or negative 1. And so now that we have all of that set up, we need to do one last step, which is to update the value in the list. And so we go down here to set value at index in list, dragging that over here to the bottom right before set I. And this is going to happen at the iterator. So the index is, and then the list is, of course, our number list. It's just easier to go to the variables tab in this case. Drag that over here to put in the list slot. And the value is inum. So we set the value to be inum at the I location. in the forward up coordinates. So we've been able to take a number that was not normal and convert it to 0, 1, or -1, which allows us to snap to 90-degree angles. And then, as soon as all this is done in the while loop, we have to add one last line of code, which is to send event to object, which is the apply rotation event. Now, Galactic, did I miss anything?
No, he did awesome.
What? Let's go! I can't believe it. Okay, first time is the charm. Now we got the Snap Cubes Lake script. We don't have a cube anymore because I deleted it like a moron. My bad. I'm going to go ahead and bring out another cube. And this cube is going to be, we do need to have it like, oh, I shouldn't have deleted that cube earlier. Okay, so we got our colors, got a nice purple on the bottom, and we're going to group that together. Boop, group, open up properties panel. We're going to then interactive. We're going to remember that we have to attach the script to it, which is the Snap Cubes Lake. There we go. And let's make sure it works. Bum, 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 bum. So I'm going to hit stop, clear, and play. Going into play mode, we can grab the cube, and we'll snap it. Perfect. It snaps to the right position. So we got the snapping element from before now working. And then if we rotate it, I guess like that, that worked. And we rotate it like that works. Rotate it like that. Nice. That's brilliant. So yeah, that's fantastic. So very, very nice. Now, but what if you want to jump on them, right? Like we're building a sandbox world. You should be able to jump on the blocks. And so that is where the next part of this script comes into play. The next step here is to make it so you can stand on this block and also place copies of the block. Now, what we're going to do is imagine that this is the block. This is a cool tester block. I'm not going to delete it, but I am going to slide it out of the way because we don't really need it. But this is a good representation block. And so what I want to do is grab the color of dirt. We love dirt. So we're going to grab a nice earthy tone right here. Boom. And then we want it to not be reflective. So we take texture and slide it down to 0%. And we might need to slightly adjust the color to get that to work. And interesting. I didn't really get that to move. Oh, there we go. That looks a little bit better. So I chose this speckled spots. That looks like a really nice earthy tone. And just for the sake of argument, let's imagine we've got two different earth tones, right? So one is this, and the other is duplicate up, snap to the top right here, snap to the top right there, and the top of this one is going to be a nice earthy grass. Earthy grass. Roll with it, y'all. Roll with it. Okay. And then I think we need to go a little bit darker tone right about there. So there is our two blocks. They're cute. Okay. They're cute. Believe me, they're cute. So then we're going to first start with this one and we're going to select, put our hand inside, thumbstick to the left to group. Now we've got this. It's got a nice Y upward direction, which is important. Y upward direction there. It's not actually that important, but it's nice. It's a nice to have. Then with both of these, we're going to select both of them, open up the properties panel, and we're going to drop down and select the Snap Cubes Lakes script. So there we go. We got our script. It's attached. We need to make them both interactive and grabbable. And there we go. So then the next thing we're going to do is create assets out of these, but we need them. I should have done this first, but that's okay. So we're going to duplicate this, and then we're going to properties panel. And we are going to make them non-animated, non-interactive. We're not going to have any script attached to them. So no script. Let's make sure that got cleared off. It did. And it did. Very nice. So with those there, we want to create some assets. I'm going to open up my menu, go into the asset library, and create a new folder. Although last time I created a folder, it broke my asset library. So I think we're just going to click new asset this time. We're going to select our static dirt, press confirm. And we're going to call this static dirt. All right, so we got our static dirt asset, and we'll click create. I could have taken a photo, but that's okay. Just going fast. If you want to update a photo, you can always click edit, choose thumbnail, take photo, look at it, take a picture, and it lasts longer. Just kidding. And then go ahead and click create. And then we're going to go create static grass block. So then we'll go to new asset, select, confirm, and we'll call this static grass. STATIC GRASS. Choose photo, take photo, and boink. And looks good. Okay, cool. I'm not the artist on the team, guys, so I'll leave that to the professionals in the back, okay? I'm just here to write some scripts. So now that we've got our assets saved, we can use these assets to make that when you let go of this, it places a block there. And so what we want to do is go ahead and grab right. Under the variables tab, we're going to create a new variable. This is going to be drop down type, select asset from the very bottom, and this is going to be called my block. Now you'll note that it is extremely important that when you group your objects together, that they are in 1 meter space. So when I open this up, it still says that the scale is 1, 1, 1. That is extremely important for our script. So we've done that right. This one is just a plain old cube, so it is 1, 1, 1. And now what we can do is when we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll remember we had saved these values so that we can use them in multiple positions or multiple locations. And so we can go to our Actions tab, scrolling down to Asset Spawning, which is right there. And we're going to go spawn an asset. We will need it to have a callback, but we're not going to use it just yet. For now, we're just going to keep testing this. Now our asset is the my block asset in here. The position is this my new position, so thumbstick to the right to replace. The rotation is my new rotation, thumbstick to the right to replace. The scale is indeed 1, 1, 1, so we don't need to change that. The event for the callback is going to be called new object spawn and press confirm. And just so we kind of like are aware of how this works, let's go ahead and create a new event, which will be this event that we just had. So a callback is an event being received. So this is basically saying, I want to receive an event to notify me that the asset has finished spawning. And it does happen almost instantaneously. But the important part of this, and let's remember the name of it, is new object spawn. Let's type that back in. New event called new object spawned. So the important part of this isn't the fact that you're receiving the timing that it has just spawned. The important part of this really is that you can receive it with the well, you have to receive it. So you have to make sure to create a parameter with an that's type object. And this is the new spawned object. So new spawn or new object, and press confirm. And so this receives the new object. Now we're going to use that in a minute, but this is how we're going to be able to get all of the assets that have been spawned and then be able to mine them and break them later on. Okay, so with this, I think we can test it out. So let's go ahead and delete our 2 cubes that we're not using. Open up this one, and then you'll see there's a spot here to put the block in. It's empty. We go into our asset library, go into the static dirt, grab the reference pill here, drag and drop into the empty pill slot. You'll see it is now referenced. We also need to do that with our grass. Go ahead and grab our grass. And at this point, this is usually where I get carried away and I have fun for about 2 hours before getting back into Horizon. I mean, back into build mode in Horizon. And because this is going to be really cool. So we're gonna hit stop, clear, and play. And now we're gonna grab this block and I let go here. Boom, there's a block. Let go there. Oof. We're going to have to fix that. But there you go. There's 2 blocks. And we can actually start building our dream dirt house now, can't we? Here we go. Look at that. Yeah, like I said, you can really get carried away with this because this is the dream right here, man. Like, look at this. Go. Oops. Yeah. I hope that's your dream house right there because... You know, like, look at this. We can do grass blocks here, grass blocks right here, grass blocks right there, grass blocks right here. We do need to fix that Z-ripping. It's a pretty easy fix. I got some ideas for it. But as you can see, that's pretty brilliant. What are y'all thinking? I see some confetti. I love it. I mean, me too. Awesome. Man. This is pretty sick. This is the dream right here. This is the dream. So, going back into build mode, let's go ahead and stop the world. So let's fix this Z-ripping problem. So the Z-ripping, big problem. So what do? Well, there's a few different options. The easiest option, though, is to select both of our plain old objects, go to the Attributes tab, and scale them up to be 1.1, 1.1, and 1.1. Now, by scaling it up just a hair, we should now be able to use these without any Z-ripping. And they should function the same way. Let's go ahead and hit play on world, go back into play mode. And now we're going to try this again. let go, no Z-ripping, but I pull it back, there's the block. And we go like that. I'd even go smaller than 0.1, although it kind of feels like we're dropping a dirt block out of our dirt block. And, you know, the other thing I'm thinking is that this is really painful, having to let go and grab again. It's a cool idea for a mechanic, but I don't think it works the best. So let's use our index trigger press event. And let's go ahead and stop the world. And let's go to our script. And actually, let's hit undo on our scaling of these, because when we start using index trigger, we no longer need to rotate self. This never needs to this doesn't have to happen anymore. We just spawn the assets. We're going to delete the rotating of self. We're going to delete the moving of self. And now we're going to scroll back where we had set this to be when object is released. And we're going to change that to when index trigger is pressed. So when index trigger is pressed, then we're going to drag every single one of these lines up. It's going to take a second, but it'll be worth it. Make sure that all the lines are added in the correct order. Otherwise, it will cause some errors. There we go. Almost done. Last couple lines. The while loop goes all by itself, so that one's really nice. And then the event right there, making sure it doesn't get indented. It has to be at the very bottom, not indented like these are. Delete that. And now what we should be able to do is build really fast and really awesome. So we grab our block here and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that looks pretty good. Okay, boom, boom. Build out the rest of the house right here and boom. And now we're going to build a little roof. Wow, this is, like I said, you can get really lost in the weeds with this. This is way too much fun. There we go. Oh my goodness gracious. Like, I could stop here. This is amazing. This is like, oh, I don't want to do anything else. This is so much fun. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our grass block. And we can place that here. We can place that here. We can jump on them, placing that there and there and there. And the fun thing with this grass block is you can even do this, not end it, but you can, you know, if you want to. And we can do that and that, and we can do that and that and that, and make a window. This is feeling pretty good. And yeah, you know, I like it. I like it a lot. That's way faster. That's way easier. It's basically the same thing. You'll notice that these don't snap when you let go of them. They just kind of float freely, which is kind of okay because it differentiates them from the regular blocks. So it makes it easier to know which one's which. The other cool thing that you can do with this mechanic is you can do... Wait, did I do it? I did it wrong. Okay, so you jump, build, jump, build, jump, build, jump, build, jump, build, stair. Someone play that Led Zeppelin song, Stairway to Heaven. Boom. Don't actually, we'd get a copyright strike. But look at me! How high am I? Wow, look how high I am. Yeah! Okay, guys. This is way too much fun. Super duper fun. And we've just gotten 2 blocks. Like, now you just duplicate this for every block that you want, and you've got a block building game. We do see... That's not real. That's not real Z-ripping. That's because the original block was placed there. That's what that is. Okay, that would only be visible in build mode is what I'm saying. And breathe. Okay, so we've got our 2 first building blocks, but there is a, how do you replace a block? Like, what if I put the wrong block down and I want to replace it? Right now, if I did that, they would Z-rip on top of each other. And so this is where this event comes into play with the new object being spawned. And so when new object spawned event is received, we actually want to receive that with the position parameter. So we're going to grab my new position, scroll to the right of the object spawn event, right where it says new object spawned. You can apply a parameter, thumbstick to the right to duplicate that into here. That means that this new object spawn event will be received with a parameter, which is a vector. And this vector represents the spawn position. There we go. Press confirm. And so the next thing we want to do is know about a asset manager. So we're going to create a new object, which will be called the asset manager. There we go. Press confirm. And now the asset manager is going to be in charge of managing all assets because these 2 are separate entities. If we have 20 different objects, 20 different blocks, they are all separate entities. And so we need them all to converge in one location, which is in charge of managing everything. And so that's our asset manager. We're going to go ahead and send an event to the asset manager, and the event is going to be this event here. We could have it said, instead of sending the new object spawned event to self, we could just send it directly to the manager, which would work. I'm not sure we should do that though. So for now, we're just going to forward it manually by changing this to be new object spawned. So it's going to send the exact same event to that variable asset manager that we created. We're going to the new object and the spawn position. And I think the main reason to do this is if for any reason we need to know about this event locally on our cube, we will know about it. Otherwise, we wouldn't know. So snap cubes lakes. We're going to go ahead and name this asset snap cubes lakes, because now we're doing assets. So we'll just keep adding to the name as it has more and more functions. So now that we have that set up, we do need to create a manager script. And then we'll also need to reference that on both of these. So let's start by creating a manager. Now, my first instinct for creating a manager has most recently been to use a spawn point gizmo. And it used to be, and I believe edit 1.0, you could select it and then scale it down. Oh, what? That must be re-added. They re-added it. Let's go. Thank you, Meta. I never would have thought they would re-add that. So we can scale this down to create a really small little icon. And I use this as my manager icon. But you have to make sure to turn spawn on start off. And there we go. Very cool. Now we're going to go ahead and grab out another script gizmo. And this is going to be for our asset manager. So it doesn't matter really where we put it for now, since we haven't created a script corner. We'll snap this guy to the top. I like to center it if possible. There we go. And then we're going to go open this up, and we'll call this Lakes Asset Manager. Lakes Asset Manager. There we go. And then what we need to do is know about that event being received. So when event is received, and the event was new object spawned, it's received with the object parameter, which is the asset. Call that asset spawned. And then we need to know the position of the spawn event. So we go create a vector called position spawned. Position spawned. There we go. Press confirm. And then what we want to do is set it to a list. So we're going to go into our variables tab and create a list of objects. And we'll click object, click list, and then call this spawned assets. Spawned assets. Being very careful not to have the same name used on these. There we go, spawned assets. And this one ends with an S, so it's like plural, whereas this is just asset spawn, so it's non-plural. So it could have been spawned asset, that would have been okay too, but yeah. Okay, then we're going to create a vector list, which is going to be our asset positions. Positions with a plural, confirm. Okay, and now that we have that, we can add these to the list. We're going to go to Operators tab, scroll down to the list section where you'll find Add to List. And the reason we want to add these at the same time is because it adds them in parallel. And so what this means is when the first asset is spawned, oh, I put these in backwards, my bad. Those go on the left, these go on the right. What this means is when the first asset is spawned, it's at index 0. The second asset will be at index 1, and so on. And then if we find that a new position comes in, we can replace it with a different object. So let's go ahead and see how that would work. So what we're going to say is if the list contains items, there's one in here called list contains item. Because all of our positions are snapped positions, and they are all, on a grid, it's easy to make sure the numbers are the same. The numbers will be the same because they're all rounded. So we say if the position spawned, so this position spawned, is already in the asset position list, then what we want to do is slightly different. What we want to do is actually despawn the asset at that index. We'll go down to despawn asset, put that in the if statement. And the asset we want to despawn is under Operators tab, get item from list. And the item that we're going to be getting is the item that's at the index of this. So let's create a new number variable called current index. Press confirm. So then we can set the current index, and we'll set at the very beginning of this if statement. So we set the current index to be the index of the position spawned in the asset position list. And then we can delete the item at current index from the spawned assets list. And once we've despawned that asset, we can then remove that item from both lists. So we'll grab remove item from list, and removing item at the current index, excuse me, not item, we want to remove item at index, there it is. Remove item at index, so that allows us to put in a number variable from both the spawned assets list as well as the asset position list. And now that we've removed both of those, so say we remove item 0, then item 1 shifts down into item 0, the 0 slot, and so everything shifts when an item gets removed. And it's been despawned, so we can't have overlapping objects, so this prevents us from having z-ripping. So let's go ahead and test it out and make sure it works. We're going to need to reference the manager, and we also need to attach the script to the manager. So let's go ahead and attach the Lakes Asset Manager script, and then we're going to reference this right here into the Asset Manager. Right here and there. Perfect. And with that done, we can go ahead and check this out. See if it's 0. Script and clear and play. So first test will be to grab a dirt cube, place. And if we place 2 on top of each other, rotated 90, I don't see any z-ripping. We'll drop another one there. Oh, right. You have to press index trigger. Forgot we changed that. That's okay. And now place this one here. We'll place another one on it. And you'll notice there's leaves right here, whereas there's not there, right? And look at that. The leaves are facing the correct direction. And if I place it here, it's going to replace the dirt. Normally it would z-rip like that, but oh, you saw it for like a split second. There's just like a hair where the asset has spawned in for long, just a hair long. But I think that's good. It's fast enough that I think it's okay. No z-ripping's okay, but it's not great, not gonna lie. Oh man, is there a way we can get rid of that z-ripping faster? Let's think about it. There totally is, because we don't want to z-rip. Man, that looks cool though. So we could go like place this here and there, and then we could delete these by going there and there. That looks really good. So that is pretty sweet. It does mean that say you wanted to do well, we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm like, let's do a pickaxe. Stop, clear. So there is this split second. We could do the asset spawning in this asset manager. Okay, so here's the idea. So we send new object spawned to the asset manager with, instead of the new object spawned, we send it with my block. And we send it with the my new position and rotation. Okay. Delete the asset spawning event from here. So the idea is we don't spawn the asset on this. We spawn the asset on the asset manager once we've already despawned the object that was there. So that should work. So then we go into our asset manager script. And instead of receiving it with asset spawned and position spawned, let's delete these and replace this with a new, it's going to be an asset. So this is the asset block. We'll call it block asset. Confirm. And then we also receive a position. So this is the vector spawn position. Spawn position. And confirm, and then we also receive the rotation. So we receive the spawn rotation. Okie doke, and press confirm. Now with that, we can then create a new event down here, which is the new object spawned event. And in the new object spawned event, we do receive it with an object parameter, which is called new spawn. And we can also pass in a vector parameter just like we did before. So we'll do that. And we'll call this spawn position. And because we have this being received here locally, because these events have different parameters, they are not received like at the same time, even though they have the same name. It's better to give these different names. So let's actually rename new object spawn to be a new event called spawn object. Okay, press confirm. And we'll go ahead and rename the event over here. And this is just better scripting. It's just better to do it this way. So we'll go create a new event called spawn object, and confirm. There we go. So that's cleaner. Then over here, there's less confusion about there being 2 events with the same names because now they have different names. Down here, this is where we add those to the list. So when the new object is spawned, we add the new spawn and the spawn position to the relevant lists. And up in here, we're going to do something very similar, which is saying if the asset positions list contains the spawn position, then what is the index of that spawn position in the asset position list? Then let's delete the item that's at that list, remove the item from the list, remove the item from the other list, and then let's spawn an asset. So let's grab spawn asset with callback, and we'll put that at the bottom because no matter what we want to spawn an asset, it's just whether or not it's in the list that we don't. And then here's our spawn position. Just like before, we'll replace those values, keeping 111. The event callback name is that one that we already created, new object spawned. It's sent to self with the spawn position as a parameter. And that should work and remove our z-ripping. So let's go ahead and clear and play. Okay, so I'm really far away. Okay, so let's do this the easy way. Clicking once, that's the way. Click again, and it disappears. You see that? So it disappears before the new one spawns in. That is acceptable behavior. It's much, much better than z-ripping. So totally okay with that. Also, kind of love that you can create hedge walls. Check this out, guys. This is kind of ridiculous, but I kind of love it. Bum, 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 bum. Look at that. The grass block can be used to do all sorts of things. Who knew?
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at this. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. It's like, I don't know what you'd call that, but it's a thing.
Right?
I don't know. I'm trying to jump on
A
this.
dirt sandwich.
It's a dirt sandwich. Yes. Thank you, Gray. I knew there was a name there.
That was all Galactic. I just spoke louder than her.
Oh man, that's too funny. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, we don't have any z-rip anymore. It just deletes it and respawns it. And we can replace this with whatever. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, you can kind of just spam click too, which is also kind of fun. So you can create like random jumpy courses. Oh snap, how did I jump so high? But you know, like yeah, I'm just random. I'm like clicking my finger as fast as I can. And that leads us to our next problem. What happens if you spawn the maximum number of items? So in a world, you can have up to 3,000 objects at any given time. But a list, which is what we're using to store all of the assets, can only have up to 1,000. Not to mention, Galactic and Cray, they're going to build some custom art that's going to look way better. So 3,000 objects, we're going to use that up. So you can have up to, let's say, 1,000 objects. What do you do when you reach that 1,000? And that is the question. So look at all these blocks we placed. Oh, I love this so much already. Okay, going into build mode, let's go fix the problem of running out of space. So in our manager, we are going to add one additional if statement, which is going to say, okay, we've taken care of this scenario, but what if, okay, it's a new position and the list is greater than 1,000. So we go to list is greater than or equal to 1,000. So we're going to say length of list. We go down to the list, grab length of list. And I'd actually highly recommend not using 1,000 and just using a lower number like 990. In our case, we're going to use 900. This gives you a 100 point buffer in case something goes wrong for some reason, and it can. So, plan for things to go wrong. So we're going to say if the asset position list is greater than 900, then we want to remove and despawn an item. But this item isn't some this is the oldest item. So we're going to despawn not item at current index, but we're going to despawn item at 0. So just item number 0 gets despawned, and then it gets removed from both lists. And that means we'll always have a maximum of 900. Now to give this a quick test, let's start with 9 objects. We'll test it with 9 and then we'll add the zeros back and clear and play. And come on in, and we'll start with 9 grass blocks. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So theoretically, the oldest block is that one there, and that's going to despawn as soon as I place this. Yep, there it goes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. So we've limited it to 9 blocks, and there you go. Very cool. So now we've got a limiter in there, which will prevent us from going over. We'll go ahead and lift that limit back to 900. Now that our test is done. And so the next question is, how do we despawn blocks if we have like a pickaxe, right? Okay, so we've introduced the idea of placing blocks, but now how do we despawn blocks? So that, my friends, is where we need a pickaxe. Does anybody have a pickaxe in their asset library that we can use for this? A Minecraft pickaxe? I think Galactic has one. by the way, super grateful to Minecraft for having such loose IP terms. Basically, as long as you're not trying to rip off Minecraft or pretend to be Minecraft or trying to make money off of Minecraft, you're pretty much good to use their IP. You just have to make sure to disclaim, we are not Minecraft. We're not sponsored by Minecraft. And there you go. There's my disclaimer. So here's our pickaxe. Everyone in here, I assume, is huge fans of Minecraft like myself and Galactic and Cray, or Cray's son at the very least. YG's got his hands kind of in the, oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, now he's like, oh, yeah, count me in. Okay, coach. Wait, I'm the coach. Galactic, it says you're editing this object. Are you able to, oh, there it goes. Now it's working. Okay, let's go ahead and ungroup this. And so, is there any script running on this or anything? It's just probably not. Turning.
Maybe check the object on the top.
All good. I'll take a look. So we're gonna. So I've added collidability to this section of the pickaxe. I'm checking just a couple of the pieces here just to make sure there's nothing running on it. Looks like we're good. So now what we're going to do is select from here all the way up and group it together. We're going to open up the properties panel. We're going to make this interactive and grabbable. Okay, very nice. And let's go ahead and just see what this is like. So nice, not bad, not bad. So the idea is that when your hand is inside of a block and you press your index trigger, it should delete the block. And so to do this, we're going to start with the code that we wrote earlier. And the code was actually pretty straightforward. It's just this one that gets the position. So it's new vector floor x of plus 0.5. So we just need to calculate this. So we're going to have to rewrite that. We could duplicate this script and delete everything, but I think it would take longer. So I'm just going to quickly rewrite this code. Excuse me. We're going to go gizmos script, and this is our pickaxe. So we'll go ahead and call this the Lakes pickaxe. Lakes pickaxe. All right. So then we're going to do an index trigger is pressed event just like before. So when index trigger is pressed, we want to calculate a position. So we're going to create a vector, which is going to be called my position. And we're going to go ahead and press confirm. And then we want to we want to have a reference to the head of the pickaxe. So we're going to create an object reference called pick head and press confirm. And so let's go ahead and attach this script here. So we're going to select, open up properties, attach the Lakes pickaxe script. And then we're going to zoom into the group using this zoom in button. We're going to go to the very tip here, open up this block right here. And we're going to then zoom out. We're then going to make a reference to this block in our script so that we can get its position. So we grab cube, reference it here, turning off the animation. So click none. Since we're not actually animating it, we're just getting its position. Okay, so we've got pick head cube. And with that, we can go into our script again. And now when index trigger is pressed, we want to set the my position to be the position of the pick head. So we'll go grab position of from object transform, get that pick head, drop that here. And then we're going to grab another set to, putting that below, and we're going to set my position to be a new vector from XYZ. And we're going to start from the Z just like we did before. We'll remember that we started by adding 0.5 to the end, and we always do things in reverse order. So silly, but it's all good. I'll explain this one more time for you once we're done. So then we want to put floor on the left side, and there we go. There's floor, and then we're going to get the floor of the Z of vector. So we get the Z of my position. Okay, before we duplicate this 3 times, just to quickly run through, we start by getting the Z value of my position. We get the floor of it, which brings it down to a whole number. So it takes, if it's 5 over, it's going to go down to a whole number. We then add 0.5 because, as you'll remember, each of our blocks are at the midpoint of a cube, which is at 0.5, whereas this is 1, 1, this is 0.5. Whole number, not 1, but you get the idea. Okay, so then we're going to duplicate this into the plus symbol, into the Y and X axes, and then swap Z out with X, swap Z out there with Y, and then put my position into the vector pill slots. And now we have calculated a position. Now what we want to do is create a way to mine blocks, and this needs to connect to the manager. So we're going to create a new object called manager. So this is the asset manager, I believe is what we called it. Press confirm, and we're going to send an event to the asset manager with just the position. So we send event. So this is a new event called mine block, and press confirm. And this is sent to the asset manager with the position that we calculated. And now we just need to go and reference the manager on our guy over here. Reference down. Oh, open and close. There we go. Reference into the empty pill slot. Very nice. And with that loaded in, we then need to go to our manager script, and we have to tell it what to do when that event is received. So let's go to the very top, create when event, and this one is the mine block event, which is received with a vector position, mine position, we'll call it mine position, press confirm. And then we're going to run this same if statement from here, right here. So it's going to say if the mine position is in the list, then we set the index to be mine position. Then we delete that asset at that position, removing both of them from the list. And that's how we mine blocks. So let's go ahead and give it a go. See if it works. Script, clear, and play. Going to start with a couple dirt blocks right out here. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now we'll grab our pickaxe, and we're going to start by putting our pickaxe right in the center. Press index trigger. Oh boy, look at these people in the background. They're in disbelief. They're so tiny though. You can barely see them, but they're so tiny. Boing, 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 boing. I did it, you guys. You proud of Daddy Lakes? I mean, Papa Lakes?
You did it.
Is there anything that's not weird to say online?
I don't know.
Well, there we go. So go ahead and try it out, you guys.
Amazing.
Thank you, UIG. Appreciate it. Go ahead and place some blocks. Go ahead and grab the pickaxe, somebody, and try using it. Creates the one on the end.
Oh, hi. Just ignore me.
Nice. So now what we need is sound effects, visual effects, all the things that make it satisfying. Oh man, I can't believe it. Let's take a quick break, and we'll pick back up here in just a second, guys. Woo.
Uh-oh. Oh,
Goodness gracious, you guys. No, get him back in there. Lock him back in. Stay in there, buddy. You're our prisoner now.
You have the placement because he's so dark.
I think it's completely dark, blacked out in there.
Oh my gosh! It is.
Oh no, I'm almost getting locked myself.
Let me get out.
Don't let him
out.
out.
He wants out. He got out. He mined himself out.
No.
It's like where every player kind of has one attached, like almost like
to their hip,
that's
so
like
they
their
always
tool.
have one.
Yeah, they always have one.
Yeah. That could be
This feels like 2B2T, not gonna lie. All right, welcome back. So we got 3 tasks left, I think. And so the first one that we wanted to quickly talk about was how to make more assets. So the easiest way is to simply duplicate this. So Galactic provided this dirt tile. I kind of like the red stone dirt, but they also have this dirt here. So we'll use their dirt, and then we'll use their snow, and that is our snow block. And so this works, except it's currently linked to the grass asset. So we have to duplicate this and then ungroup. Well, I guess we don't actually have to ungroup, but we do want to, I am going to ungroup it. Then we're going to reselect it, then group it together again, and you'll see that it has collidability and everything. There's no animation. So then we go into our asset library, assets, and create new asset, and select, confirm. And then we're going to take a photo, and I need to name this one snowgrass. So we'll call this snowgrass. Press create. And ta-da! We now have our snowgrass asset. As soon as that's done, we then just need to grab the reference pill from right here and reference that into here under static grass. Now our snow block works. And so say we wanted to grab this and build like a snow block, snow, block, snow. The words aren't coming out right, but you understand, I think. So then we're going to paint this one snow, duplicate. And because this is in a group, the way that we're going to do this one is by opening it, removing the script. We're going to turn animation to none, and that's got it back to being a static asset. We can then create a new asset. Select, confirm, call this one static snow. And we could even do powdered snow, actually, which would be kind of fun. That's where it's non-collidable. And choose thumbnail, take photo, select, and looks good. Create. I don't think we're going to do powdered snow, though. It presents some z-ripping problems that I didn't want to have to address. So there we go. Static snow is done. And then we go into the snow block here, and we just need to replace static dirt with static snow. And ta-da! There we go. We can now delete the one that Galactic provided, delete this one that we made static, go ahead and script and play. And now we've doubled the number of blocks we have. We can now build snow biomes, and we can add little grass blocks in here as well, or snowy grass blocks, that is. That can butt up against its grass counterpart like that. Although we might want to make the dirt the same color. So we'll change that here in a minute. But there you go. So that is pretty good. Oh, and so that was the first thing we wanted to talk about, was how to make more assets. So Galactic's going to be working on that in the background. And then the next thing we wanted to do was how to make it so that the pickaxe stays with you. In that little clip you just saw where people were getting stuck, I think we had Galactic stuck in a box. We want to make sure everybody's got a pickaxe. So that was one option. I think it's the right option. So we're going to try and get a pickaxe attached to everybody's like torso. So if you're not holding onto your pickaxe, it's going to attach to torso, and then when you let go of it, it attaches to your torso, and theoretically everybody gets one. So that script should be pretty easy, but then we also want to do the sound effects for breaking, so when you mine it, it's a lot more satisfying, like boop, 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 blah, 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 whatever the sound is for mining. Theoretically, it would be fun to have every block have its own sound effect. The other thing that we should address is the fact that people can now place these below the world, and then they become impossible to get. Oh, that is really funny. But this is a problem. We don't want people trolling and dropping things below the world, so we do need to have these objects respawn back to their origin position. So that's another thing to think about. I should write these down in a list. We need a world respawn. I'm going to just go ahead and task that to Cray. For those who don't know, it's in your asset library. Just go to asset library, search for respawn, and it is going to appear. And there's the teleport and respawn script, so you can just go ahead and put that below the world. Then we need spawn cubes to respawn. We need the break sound effect and pick on hip. So we're going to start with the break sound effect. This has to happen on the manager because only the manager knows when a block has been mined. Because if you click in the air, right? So in this instance that there is a block being mined, we need to move a sound effect and visual effect and play it. So we're going to create two object references, one called break sound effect. And then we're going to need a break visual effect. So we'll go create object break VFX. VFX, confirm. And then we're going to move both of them to this position, the mine position, and duplicate. And then we're going to grab our break visual effect, our break sound effect. And then we want to play those by going to the actions tab, scrolling up to play visual effects and play sound. And then we're going to thumbstick to the right to duplicate those into the respective slots. So we're playing the visual effects, playing the sound effects, and ta-da, there we go. So that should work. Now all we have to do to make this work is open up our little manager here and reference the two objects. So we're going to go to our build sounds and search for leg break, or was it tree branch? I think it's branch break, excuse me, not leg break. It sounds like someone's breaking their leg, but it's just a branch breaking. There it is. That's not as good as I thought. I used to remember is it random? Let me see. No. Man, there used to be a really good break sound. Maybe it's a log break or tree break. Wood break. Yeah, wood break is the one I like. Okay, so we're gonna grab wood break. And when we open that up, we want to adjust the properties on it. So we want to change the distance to be maybe like 50 meters, so it's not super big. Maybe even less than that, more like 30 meters, 35 meters maybe. So 35 meters, we'll make minimum distance 0 so we get more directional sound. Turn the volume up, drop the pitch so it's a little bit bassier. Hit play to test it. A little too bassy, but nice and crunchy, really. Stop and play. Nice. There we go. Now, if we wanted to, we could create another parallel list in our asset manager to know what type of asset it was. And we could say, if asset equals this asset, then play this sound effect and so on. But in our case, we're just going to play the one sound effect. Nice. We'll turn on the volume just a little bit. Change this to be 1 pitch higher, -6. Play. There we go. And we'll drag that into our sound effects slot. Very nice. And then what I'm going to do with this is I like to snap that onto here. And now we need a visual effect. So we'll go into the gizmos and we're going to go find a visual effects gizmo. There we go. And now we're going to go turn play on start off. Choose one that looks really good. Magic collapse is probably really good. Not seeing it there, which is interesting. But I do like magic collapse. So let's try it out. Put it into here. Let's go ahead and scale it up to be about the size of one of these blocks. There we go, like that. Ooh, my hand's glitching. There we go. Okay, we'll snap that to the bottom of this guy there. That is referenced in. Perfect. Now let's go try it out. So I'm going to actually close this while I'm at it because these can add some lag to your world. So go close and go to script tab, clear and play. Oh, that's weird. It's still played on start. What the heck? Oh, but it's not. That must have just been like lag or something. Okay, so go 1, 2. There's our 2 blocks. We grab our pickaxe. Okay, the visual effect is a little big, but the feeling is getting a lot better. So let's go ahead and stop, clear, and let's go to here and change the size of that down. Be down a little bit more. It's weird, my snapping isn't working. I might have to leave and come back. This is a weird bug I've not experienced yet. Go into play mode, go into build mode, select here, deselect, select. Yeah, really not working, huh? Okay, it's close enough for now. I think we're going to pause. I'm going to reset Horizon and be right back. Okay, let's see if that's working now. Yes, there we go. Okay, so I just closed Horizon and reopened, and that fixed that bug. Let's go ahead and script and play and see if that looks better. So we'll grab this, click, 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 and grab our pickaxe. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so we've got our sound effect, but it really could use some haptic feedback. So to add some haptic feedback, we'll go into the pickaxe, and we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to create an event called Play Haptics. So new event called Play Haptics, and press confirm. And then when Play Haptics is received, we're going to create a new Boolean variable, and this is going to determine if the player is right-handed. So we'll call it is right-handed, and press confirm. And so if they're right-handed, we then go to our Actions tab, and we can grab Play Haptic Feedback on Player Controller, and we'll grab an else, which will go into the opposing. So then this is, if they're right-handed, we do play it on the right hand, and the player is going to be my player. So we're going to create a new player variable called my player. My player, press confirm, reference that to here. The millisecond, I recommend 500 milliseconds. Well, that's half a second. We'll do it at medium with a coarse, so it feels like it's breaking. We'll duplicate that here and change it to left hand. And now we need to receive this event. To receive this event, we're going to send self as a parameter when we mine the block. So we're going to go to our values tab, grab self right here, dropping that into the parameter slot. So that way on our manager over here, this is now received with just a position, with both a position and an object parameter, which represents the pickaxe. So we'll call it the pick. There we go, press confirm. And then if we are doing this, we want to play haptics. So we send event to the pick. So grab send event to object, send event to object, grab the pick from here, scroll down, replace self, and change this to the play haptics event. So that'll now get sent over to the pick. And then the pick needs to know which hand the player is. And since the object has to be grabbed by a player, we can scroll down to object grab events, and you'll see when object is grabbed by player with hand, put that at the very top. And then we'll go ahead and grab the set to. The order of this isn't super important, but I do it in this order so it's easier for my brain. So it's like chronologically, they grab it, then they press their index trigger. So then we go to the variables tab. We're going to grab the is right and the my player, and we're setting is right to is right. We're setting my player to player. And now we'll have that available when we want to play haptics. So now when I go and mine these blocks, we'll hit stop, clear, and play. Let's go try this out. We'll go ahead and use this block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Grab this guy, and 1. Oh, yeah. You feel it. You feel it. It's a little long, though. I think we should change the haptic length down to 3 rather than 500. So go change that to 250, and then duplicate that into here. Stop, clear, and play. Coming back in. Go ahead and grab that. 1, 2. Grab this. And I do want to give this kind of a grab anchor so it always grabs at the same position. That feels better. That was weird. Okay, cool. Good stuff. So you can see they're working on a lot of blocks over there, which is quite exciting. We're going to go ahead and stop the world. Going to go ahead and clear. And we've got this. We wanted to add a grab anchor to this pickaxe. To do that, we go to our More tab. I'm going to go and grab Use Grab Anchor. There's the grab anchor. We can grab that and position it. Something like that should do the trick. And we're going to see if that works for both right and left-handed, or if we need to adjust it. Oops, sorry to grab. It's not bad. I feel like it could be more down. Left-handed even feels great. No, maybe it's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and tilt. So select, and then tilt that up more like that. Now let's go and try it again. Yeah, that's better. That'll be easier to use. Yeah, I think that works. Cool. Okay, so we got our pickaxe set up. Let's take a quick look at our list. Looks like we got a respawn script down below us. Very nice. Great work. And so this is that trigger I was telling you about. Now I'll show you a quick trick that I like to do, which is to add an object below it. So what this does is it makes sure that players who are falling really fast still get picked up by this. And so we just slide that to there, slide that over to here, and then we'll make it invisible so you can't see it. So visibility is off, but collidability is on. We don't need light and shadow on it, so we can turn that off as well. It doesn't need to be that thick, so we'll skinny it up. And then this guy doesn't need to be that thick either, so we'll skinny this up. And then, because we don't want players getting too far off the map, we are going to take this and duplicate up to here, like that. Yeah, that'll do, right? I'm not sure. I was thinking about doing it, kind of like a cube. I guess we'll do a cube. That's fine. Cube is fine. And then we'll select this cube, move it to there, stretch it to here, duplicate to there, stretch to here, and last one. So this keeps people in the space at all times so they can't just exit. Now we don't really want to limit the height, so we've kept it pretty tall. I kind of feel like if they really want to get out of this space and get lost, we'll let them. So if they build out of the top, by all means, go for it. Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. But normally I would probably put a lid on this, right? So you'd grab like the bottom cube right here and then duplicate up. Yeah. Okay, is that trigger too thin? I don't know. Let's go and try it out. So we'll script, clear, and play. Let's go jump off the world. Running to the end of the world. And jumping. Yep, you totally respawn. Good stuff. Great job, Cray. All right, so with that, we now have our world border in. We have this guy here. Oh, you remember, Cray, where like the asset spawning wasn't working in MetaBlocks? I recently learned that script was broken by some new update in Horizon. So that might be part of it.
That makes sense.
I hear they're trying to fix it, so it should come back into working at some point. Maybe. Okay, so I was going to go grab the green color from here, or this brown color. I like that brown. Do I like that brown? What? Why does that brown look nicer? I'm so confused. It looks nicer from a distance. How is this possible?
Yeah.
I'm confused. Perplexed. Very, very perplexed. Okay, let's go and change it, because I really wanted this dirt color to be a little more like that. Yeah, that's the dirt color I like. That is a really good dirt color. Okay, so then we're going to go to our assets, and I'm going to show you something new that we just learned today. So if I pull out this asset and I pull out this asset, and we know, and we also want to pull out this asset, and we want to pull out, yeah, we don't need that one. So these three are all going to get different dirt tones that look like that. So then we go, usually this would work, but as of today, or sometime in this past week, we've learned that this is different. So change, select, press confirm, and press update. Now typically that would work, but what you'll see happen once I'm done with all of these, edit, change, select, confirm, update. And then last one, information, edit, change, select. Wait a second, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Confirm and update. Okay. Select and delete. Now, if we go down here and we grab this and place it, it will still place the previous asset. Bonkers, right? So there's like some asset history, I guess, and it's somehow linked to the previous asset. So what we found to fix it is you have to re-tag the pill. So you got to go back into the asset library, go into assets. And we got static grass, which will now drag that reference back into here. And then we'll do that for this one as well. This is the static dirt asset. And then we also have to do that for our snow asset. Edit. Oh no. Right. Open this. Reference. Zoom in. Maybe go the other way. Drag to there. Okay. And now when we do that, we should have the... I'll stop and play the world again. Perfect. And click, click, click. Yeah, that's the new color for sure. I guess I didn't apply the new color to this one. That's okay, but yeah, there's the new color on it. Nice, that works so good. Okay, we'll stop the world. And let's go ahead and get this color. And we've got world respawn. We got break sound effects. We don't have the pick on hip. The spawn cubes respawning. So when these things are let go, they should go back to wherever they came from. And so on the snap cubes, we're now going to rename this to the spawn cubes, not snap cubes, since they're, we can call them asset cubes. We'll call them spawn cubes. I like spawn cubes. Spawn cubes. Okay. So now at the bottom of this, we want to say when world is started and when object is released by player. We're just going to go back to wherever we came from. When object is released by player. And we're going to go create a couple new values. We're going to create a vector called spawn position. Confirm. And we're going to create a new rotation called spawn rotation. Spawn rotation. Press confirm. And then we need to set these values on world start. And if you want a more complicated response, complicated response script, we've got quite a few videos on the channel. Definitely encourage you to try. I think there's like a easy to hard respawn scripts. This is the easy one. So we got position of, rotation of, and this is of the self. We'll go grab self. And so then when object is released, we move to and rotate to this position. There we go. And just do into here and to there. Perfect. So now whenever you let go of these, they will return to where they came from. So we can try that out. So grab, let go, very nice. So now all we have to do is build some sort of nice place for these to sit. And we've got blocks. Wow, that's pretty cool. Oh, that is so bright. And those will always return back to where they started. It does mean there's this one issue where you can do that. Sorry, didn't mean to. Even that's not great. So we definitely want to make sure those are done right. So I haven't quite figured that out, but we'll figure it out in a minute. Okie doke. So, breathe. Next up, we need the pick on the hip. So we've got the position. We now need to make it so it can be attachable. And so this is where we need to do some fanciness that I really like, which is where you create a new gizmo, which is called the MyPlid assigner. And so this assigns a player ID for the pickaxe. And so we're going to call this MyPlid assigner or PickPlid assigner. Okay. So then the PickPlid assigner is going to receive an event with the object parameter called the pick, and that will be called getPlid. Okay, so when getPlid is received with a pickaxe, it's then going to send the event getPlid back to the pickaxe, and that will be with a new variable we need to create called a list of objects. This will be called the picks, and press confirm. Oh, it's supposed to be a list. I'll try that again. Object, check list, call it picks, press confirm. And what we want to do is add the pick to the list if it's not already in the list. So we say if the list does not contain items, so we go up to the top where we can grab the not operator and say if the list contains item, and by doing this it means list does not contain item, and then we'll add the pick to the picks list, and then we're checking the picks list for the pick, and then we at the very end send getPlid to pick with the index in list, so we get index of pick in the picks list. If it's the first item, it's index 0, the second item is index 1, and so on. So every pick gets assigned a plid, and that is what the PickPlid assigner does. So we're going to duplicate this little player icon here, put it there, open this up, change this to be the PickPlid assigner. There we go. So now that we got the PickPlid assigner, we need to go into our pick and get a plid. So we're going to create a new, and plid stands for player ID, by the way. So we're going to create a number called myPlid. Press confirm. And so when world is started, we need to go get this value. When world is started, we send event to a new object variable called the plid assigner. Plid assigner. Press confirm. So send get plid to the plid assigner with self as a parameter. There we go. And then when event is received, called getPlid with a number variable called myIndex. Press confirm. We can then set the myPlid value to myIndex. There we go. And now let's double check that I set this up correctly over here. And that's received with object, sent with number. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got a index. So then the next thing we need to know is when a player enters the world. And so we say, we need to know my player. And so we were doing when object is grabbed by the is right hand of player. So now we want to change this to only tell us if it's the right hand. We're going to set my player using when world is entered by player. So when player enters the world, and we'll have a when player exits the world to move this back to the spawn point. So we should actually recreate that same script we just did a second ago to move to and rotate to my origin position. So create a new vector called origin position, new rotation called origin rotation. There we go. Press confirm, move origin rotation, origin position when world is exited by player, but only if the player is my player. So we say if the player equals my player. There we go. move there, and then on world start, we need to set those values. So we'll quickly goes on world start. So grab set to, set origin position, set origin rotation, and then we'll go grab that from the operators tab under object transform, position of object, rotation of object, self and self. There we go. And then when world is entered by player, we want to know if the player who entered has my index. So we say if the player who entered, and there's an operator in here for players, and you can get the index of player, get player index. And so that's going to return a number value. And if that equals my plid, then we know that that's my player. So we can then set my player to be that player who has entered the world. And we can also attach pickaxe to that player. So we're going to go down to actions where we can find attach object, attach attachable object to player. And that's going to happen when the world is entered by player. So we're going to attach self to the player and we're going to attach it to their torso. Now, when the object is grabbed, that will have removed it. But when the object is released by the player, we want to also attach it. So down here, we're going to go grab when object is released by player, then we want to also attach back to the player's torso. And we also don't want anyone else to be able to grab this pickaxe. So when world is started, there's a set who can grab. So we're going to set who can grab to be server player. So nobody can grab this on world start. And we'll even say when the world is exited by my player, that also is the case. So when world is exited by player, we also set it to be server player. But when the world is entered by my player, that's when we set I can be grabbed by that player. Okay, so now no one else can grab it, and it's going to attach and detach from the player. So let's pickaxe here. We need to reference the plid assigner above us. Here it is, reference plid assigner. There we go. And now we need to make it attachable. So let's go to the More tab and grab avatar attachable anchor so we can set a specific position. It's attachable to the torso and it's attachable by the owner. And then I need somebody to help test this out so we can see where it's at. So Galactic or Cray, you guys want to try attaching this to your body? Let's use a copy of it. Go ahead and try this one. I have to hit play, don't I? Script, clear, and play world. Go ahead and grab that one. Okay, so it's upside down, so that's problem number one. Let's have you take that off for me. You can't even touch it. Never mind. Let's go ahead and stop the world. Select, open up properties. And I'm getting feedback off you, Cray. Just FYI. Thank you. We're going to go to the More tab, and we need to rotate this 180 degrees. So down here, we got rotation along the Y, needs to adjust by 180 because it was upside down. And then we want it to be outwards. So let's move the position down, so minus 0.2, and then forward by 0.5. And let's see if that has moved into a better position, maybe to the side by 0.1, 0.15 even. Okay. Let's go ahead and script play. Okay, looks like that's getting better. The rotation is still weird. I guess I rotate around the wrong axes. So I'm going to stop the world. Oh, but maybe that's not a bad way to have it. Maybe that's actually better than I thought. Because it does seem to be easy to grab. Real query is why they're both attaching to Galactic. We'll address that bug in a second. Okay. Oh, you know what it is? Ah, because she didn't enter the world? No, this is the wrong code. I wanted to go into this one. We want to change the default value for my player ID to -1. There we go. That's better. Now they both want attached to her. Okay, so then we're getting really close with this one over here. The rotation, I rotated around the wrong axes, so this actually did nothing. So we'll go to 0. And then we actually want to rotate, so I rotated like this, but we want to rotate like this. So we're on the x-axis. So we'll go by -25 just to try it out. And then see, try again, minus 25. And if that looks good, or it might be going in the wrong direction, we'll try something else. Let's play. Yo, is that where it was? Let go. What the heck? That's pretty solid. Okay, so that was the right direction. It's a little too far out, so let's adjust that. I'm going to stop the world again. All right, so select this, open up properties, go to more tab, and we can move it in a little bit. So we said it was out by 0.5. Let's move it out by 0.25. So half that amount, so it's more on her waist. Go ahead and hit play. Stop. Play. Go into build mode and back into play mode, Galactic. Come back over towards me so I can see. That looks really good. That looks really good. Yeah. I mean, could be better, but I think that's pretty solid. Okay. I got lots of confetti in the back, so I think I'm going to make just a slight adjustment and move it down just a hair more. And then back a little bit too. I think those are just the slightest adjustments. So down by minus 2.5. So we'll add just a little bit down and a little bit back a little bit further. And let's go hit play. Go into build mode and back into play mode, Galactic. All right. I think that looks even better. Yeah, I think that's it. That's our winner. Sweet. All right, so I'm stopping the world now. And we're going to go ahead and grab this one here, and we're going to delete this one here. And then we need a bunch of these. So depending on how many players this is going to support, which, oh, and I was supposed to give a shout out to Caffeinated, who designed these pickaxes. So huge shout out to Caffeinated for making these awesome pickaxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a good start. Although 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd love to have 24 players in here. Let's just, see what it does. Boom, why not? Okay, there's 24. We'll see what our capacity's at in a second. In fact, we'll go right now. Capacity, so far so good, but let's drive our... Oh, I can't change player settings because I'm in as the wrong account. That's too bad, but we are looking pretty good with that. So I think we might be doing solid. Play. Now, when you guys go into build mode into play mode, you'll have a pickaxe attached to you. You can kind of barely see it. I think it looks better on other people. Like, let's let go. It looks better on you than I can barely see it. You guys feeling that? Like, it's just barely there in my peripheral vision.
I'm glad we can see it. It's perfect.
Oh, it's okay. It's perfect. Cool.
I like it. I think it's nice.
Okay, so now let's all grab blocks and try to trap YG. See if you can trap him before he can get out. Okay, YG, try to get out.
Okay.
I don't know how we're getting zero thing. Are we just going that fast?
It looks like we're sitting on each other for a second.
This is pretty good. This is pretty solid. Just don't know why the zero thing's happening. That was maybe because we went so fast.
Might have faced this inside.
Oh, because the asset spawning takes a second. So if you tried to spawn one, I guess what we need to do is do a double check when the assets... You just spammed it, didn't you? You're on mute, by the way, Cray, but that's okay. Yeah.
That's how you do it, yeah.
Okay, so I can fix that. Let's go fix that real quick. Y'all is having fun, but we're going to have to stop the world for a sec. Sorry. Okay, so what we need to do is in the asset manager, we need to run this position check one more time. So the spawn object here, this if statement needs to go right here when the new object is spawned. And so it's basically going to remove, it's going to remove the previous asset, basically. It's going to be like, oh, wait, there already is a position there. Let's delete that. So this should fix it because we just duplicated that if statement down. Okay, let's try it out again, Cray, see if you can break it. I spammed as fast as I could, nothing. Yeah, I think we did it. That fixed it. What did you do? Oh, why isn't it? Oh, I can't look at that.
I think I broke it.
Why would you do this?
I don't know.
Oh, that's what you did. Okay, that's not a bug. No, that's not a bug. Okay, that's... You can't do it in the same spot because that's where the objects start. Those ones are
Gotcha.
always like that. We have to build a place for it.
Okay.
We have to build a place for these objects because see how that always is like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. These need like a balcony or something to sit in that's not aligned to the grid, so that way they can't be. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That or we have to make them smaller, but. This is great. So by the time you're watching this video, this world should be live. You know, come check it out. Come check this out. Try it out. Try these features out. We do have to do a couple little housekeeping items like moving those objects around. We did the break. We did the pick on hip. Is there anything else? We just need to make more objects, right? Yeah, cool. Well, we're going to do some more work on this. We'll see you in Horizon, guys. Come check out MetaBlocks Sandbox. We look forward to seeing you here. And bye!
Bye.